So most of my life, I was suicidal. It started at a very young age. I can't remember. Part of the problem with traumatic brain injuries is my memory's not great, but I definitely remember being in front of the mirror in my bathroom with razor blades, often thinking about wanting to kill myself. Everyone else in my family was home, didn't matter. I was in the bathroom by myself, looking in the mirror, hating myself, hating the way I looked, hating the way I talked, hating everything about myself. So that started pretty young, and I think it only got worse. And then, got into football, got into heavy drinking, got into drugs, got into escaping from myself. Then that also caused a ton of anger. My parents' garage, we had weights and everything else. I would always go out there to become the big, strong, tough man who could, handle anything. But there was also a canvas punching bag there. And my goal was to cover the entire thing with my blood. So I would not wear gloves, and the canvas, if you've ever hit a canvas bag, it will take off your skin. And so I did a pretty good job using both of my knuckles to cover most of the bag until my knuckles got so calloused that I actually put glass on the bag. I broke glass and I put it on the bag, I glued it on there. And so I would hit that first to bloody up my knuckles and then hit the bag. So that was probably, 17 or 18. Went off and played college football. Didn't become any happier, more concussions, more drinking, more, and it was always drinking to pass out, doing drugs to pass out, just not wanting to be present. I played high school football, I played college football, I had a lot of concussions, I was knocked out a lot. I went into kickboxing, professional boxing with no amateur experience. That is not a good idea. And then also all the MMA, just taking fights with very little training. So I really abused myself, but I told myself, I got through it. I'm fine because look at my lumosity scores. My lumosity scores, brain game scores are super high. I can do all these things. I'm functioning, I'm publishing, I'm doing these things. If I go into these little depressions, if I go into these, get real sad or whatever else, I'm just gonna block them and chalk it up to whatever. I don't care. Probably the biggest reason why I did contact the Amen Clinic was because of my wife's results. She was very happy with how her treatment went here, and so I knew what kind of care I was going to be getting. I was a little scared to see the results of the SPECT scan. I knew it was probably going to be pretty bad, which it was, but I'm always telling everyone, it's better to know, but I still didn't want to see it. I didn't want to see my SPECT scan. So I came in and I did the SPECT scan. The doctor did a Zoom call with me, and I could tell he did not want to tell me my results. He looked pretty upset. He looked kind of sad. I had to assure him I was fine. I'm like, hey, I know my brain isn't going to look good. I said, I've been using cannabis for 34 years. I've seen the studies that show what it's like after 4 years of cannabis use, and I've been using it nonstop. So I said, just that alone, I don't think it's gonna be, that great. I said, so it's not gonna bother me, I'm fine. And he was like, Mark, he said, you and I are the same age. He's like, I've been looking at these for 20 years and this is one of the worst I've seen. So I was like, okay, cool, yeah, I got one of the worst. And it's just, I have done a lot of damage to my brain. And he was able to show it to me through the SPECT scan. It looks like there's giant holes, just there's that little blood flow to some of those areas. That was definitely a big moment. It was tough, but I'm incredibly glad that I did it. So yeah, the functional medicine doctor, he really, I'm very grateful for him. He had me tested for Bartonella, which is a parasitic infection, as well as Lyme disease. I was positive for both of those, and so now I take some medicine every day to help combat those. That explained a lot of what was going on with me as well. I've really learned how to understand myself. What are my limits? What are the things that I need to stay away from? What are the things that are good for me? So it's like, okay, I'm gonna do the things that are good for me. I'm going to take out the things that are not good for me. And that could mean people, that could mean whatever. So it's just being very proactive. I feel like I am more of myself, or who I should have been, who I would have been if I didn't have the incredibly reckless lifestyle and done these sports and abused my brain. I feel like I'm reaching my potential now, where before it's like, well, I couldn't get there because of this barrier, but now we're removing that barrier, and yeah, things are awesome.